Hi and welcome to the first episode of Suno Khabar podcast. And today we have with us, so we would like you to introduce yourself.
I am Mohammad Riaz. I am research scholar at Academy of International Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia, and I also teach at Alia University in Kolkata.
Okay, so Riaz, tell us that what is this Aleppo case and what exactly is happening in Aleppo?
See, Aleppo is a historical city in Syria. 2011-12, when conflict began in Syria, it was a part of follow-up to what people know as Arab Spring. So there were a group of protesters who were not happy with Assad regime, and they started protesting. Initially it was peaceful protest, and gradually this protest rebellion turned violent, and then there are rebellion, however, was not a united movement. So there were several factions. In fact, if you take current situations, some reports suggest there are around 100 to some even suggest that there are around up to 200 factions. So different factions started protesting and rebelling against the government. They had just one common cause, removing Assad, but they were not united.
So Riaz, are these groups are being backed or supported by some kind of group, or they are individual common people, common civilians, citizens of that country who are protesting and who have turned this violent?
Some groups are led by Al-Qaeda Front. Then there is ISIS or Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Then there are several other groups. There are some groups which are supported by Western countries like US and other Western countries. There are some groups which are supported by Turkey, but they all have different, like one agenda is of course that they want to remove Assad, but they all have their different agendas. And this in a way worsened the situation, because it's what started initially many people would call as rebellion turned into civil war. And this Aleppo city, which is a historical city, and it was not a political capital, by the way, it was more of economic center. So this Aleppo, however, came under control of, like in 2012, one of the rebel groups which is supported by United States, they controlled large part of East Aleppo. So Aleppo got divided into, like there are some pockets which are under ISIL, there are some pockets which are under Al-Qaeda Front, and a small part was under Assad regime, and a large part of Eastern Aleppo especially came under direct control of this rebel group. So they called it liberated zone, and Assad regime thought it's under siege now. So finally, last couple of weeks after Mosul, in fact, now this Russia, supported by Russia and Iran, Assad regime became, they consolidated their position, and with the help of bombing by Russian fighter planes, Assad regime has finally recaptured Aleppo. So according to Assad regime and their supporters, Aleppo has been liberated, or for others it has been recaptured by Assad regime. So that's the crux of the matter. Aleppo is, by the way, important because it's one of the biggest city. The fall of Aleppo from the rebels point of view is important, because Aleppo was one of the biggest city which has come under which was you can say annexed from Assad regime. So now the fall of Aleppo means slowly other smaller towns will also gradually come back within the fold of Assad regime. So that in a way you can say that so-called civil war, at the moment at least, Assad regime is winning.
Okay, so in very simple words and very I would say straightforward way, if I ask you how does this entire Aleppo incident is going to affect common people, or what impact does this have on the common people?
See, whenever I wrote an article on this also, in fact, so whenever there is war anywhere for that matter, and at any time in the history, whenever there is war, truth becomes one of the first casualty. So a war is always surrounded with lot of propaganda. So what you get to know or see or hear about any incident during a war is always full with propaganda. So selective news are spread in a way which helps one particular side. So if you read, for example, Press TV, which is Iran's TV channel, and if you see, for example, Al Jazeera, which is from Qatar, or say BBC even, so the way when Mosul, which is in Iraq, when Mosul was quote unquote liberated from ISIL, so the way it was reported in Western media, as if it's a good thing because ISIL is a terror organization, and so Mosul has been liberated by Iraqi government, of course, with the support of US. Now, when Syria is again quote unquote liberated by Assad regime with the help of Russia this time, so now then the reporting in Western media especially is just the opposite. Whenever there is a war, so it's always about propaganda. This time, what has happened on the issue of Aleppo has divided the people. So people in the West, a large number of them, a large number of people even in India, many of those who they have been divided into two camps. One camp is saying that okay, yes, Assad is bombing people, but you see the battle, the civil war was started by the rebels, and most of these rebels are terrorists. So what option do they have? The terrorists have made human shield out of these civilians. So as if there is no other option, so we have to bomb, and these are collateral damages that which we have to suffer. So that's one side who are like pro-Assad people, or supporters of Russia, or supporters of say Iran. So they are on one side. On the other side are the people who are saying whatever it is, I know it is war, but then there is at the end of the day so many people are dying. So many people are killing rebellions or bombing rebellions bases. They are bombing hospitals, they are bombing schools. There are also reports of camps where these people were staying have been bombed. Hospitals have been bombed, schools have been bombed. So that's why you see on social media the division. So on one side the group are pro-Assad and pro-Iran and pro-Russia, and on the other side are the people who are talking about human rights issues.
Thank you, Riaz, for talking to Suno Khabar. We'll be back soon with a new episode of a new Suno Khabar podcast on a new issue. So just stay hooked to Suno Khabar and let us read the news for you.